Hello and welcome to Flaunt. Create a life you love after infidelity or betrayal. I'm Lora Cheadle, and today is going to be an incredible show. My guest is John Gray. And for those of you who are like, John Gray, the John Gray? Yes, the John Gray. John is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Now, not only has he written that book, but he has written over 20 books on relationships. His most recently being Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Our Complex Modern World. He helps men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. And his approach, which I really appreciate, combines specific communication techniques with healthy nutritional choices that create better brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. So, welcome, John. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you so much. I am too.
Good. Let's start off by talking about honoring and respecting differences between partners when those differences have, in part, led to infidelity.
Um, it's a big subject, but the simple part of it, I start out with hard to respect someone if we don't understand how they're different. Okay, so
Yes.
you have to understand people's sensitivities. Now, this is, of course, obvious if you have a child, you don't demand things of that child which are not appropriate. Well, men and women, without an understanding of how we're different, we tend to expect our partners to be a certain way, react a certain way, respond a certain way that maybe we would respond. So you feel that's normal, but not normal for them. And so we unknowingly sabotage our relationships.
Yeah. And thank you for drawing that distinction between children and adults, because we don't expect our kids to respond like we were, but we sure do expect our partners to respond like we would.
Right. With our kids, we have a greater sense of unconditional love because there is a big part of, at least for your young children, unconditional. Even with my older kids, it's unconditional. No matter what, they come to me, I will always do my best to be for them. But with your partner, you try to have a sense of unconditional love, but it is very transactional. It's like my wife says, "Will you always love me?" I say, "I will always love you." I mean, if you turn out to be an axe murderer, I can't. I love you at a distance. Okay, I wish you well. Okay, so there has to be a give and a take that works for both people. And so many people I've counseled where the women often feel I've done so much more. And men
Yes.
don't understand that. They say, but look what I provide, look what I provide. But what he provides is something that he values most and he thinks he should get credit for. And he doesn't understand what most significant for her. So, and also for women, if I'm doing all these things for him, and some men will say, I'd rather you not. I'd rather you not do all those things for you and just be happy. Because women don't realize their happiness is their greatest power. Okay. Women often give a lot to get back rather than giving a lot, doing a lot for him. Allow him to do more for you. And when he can do more for you, then you will feel appreciative, trusting, more accepting, more happy. That is the gift that women give to men. The gift that men can give to women that's most significant is action and thought and behavior that is validating to her, that's respectful of her, that's sensitive to her emotions. And today I put that, at some point we'll get into it, I put it all in just in terms of hormones. If I can do things that raise her estrogen, she feels more supported. Whenever women are happy, their estrogen levels will be higher than what they are when she's not happy. And for men, when men are caring and motivated and more empathetic towards women, their testosterone levels are very high. And when men are grumpy, irritable, angry, passive, their testosterone levels are low. So
Hmm.
if we can have a fix in relationships is to realize what do we do that knocks down our partner's hormones that are healthy for them and what we can do to elevate that. It puts a whole nother spin on not only how we can make our relationships better, but also a greater understanding, which can lead to forgiveness of the recognition of how I have unknowingly, and again, it's unknowingly sabotaged the relationship. And then forgiveness and letting go and moving forward is easier.
Yeah, I love how you just said unknowingly sabotaged because isn't that the truth? Like, I think I'm doing the best thing ever, and really, I'm ticking my partner off. I'm emasculating him. I'm doing all of this stuff, and I just think I'm being really, really helpful. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, how do you start this conversation with your partner? How do you maybe bridge that gap and get them to see, I am trying, and I know you're trying, but we don't see each other? How do you start this conversation?
Well, I'll say an easy way. It sounds self-promotional, but get men from Mars and say, let's read this book together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you go, oh my gosh, do I do that? Do I do that? You know, couples tell me all the time that they elbow each other. Even to start a conversation could be is go online to my TED Talk. It's very funny. Look at all of the reviews. The reviews give it validation. I mean, hundreds, I think thousands of views. You know, wow, this is great. He's talking about my wife. He's talking about my husband. And then there's some, you know, there's always some people who go, I hate men, you know, or yeah, but, or I hate women. Don't give me. Those people will sort of throw in there, but the huge amount of positive responses to just having me playfully in that talk. It's very playful where I talk about how we misinterpret each other, how we react in ways that with a little wisdom we don't react that way. We can have more love. I'm thinking of writing a book which is called Let Them Be. let
Mhm.
them just let them be. Now you would think letting someone be themselves, if you're not getting what you want, I'm gonna speak for women, just let him be a guy, and first of all learn what it is to be a guy. I don't want your help. Don't give me
Yes.
advice. And, you know, if you want something from me, ask. Don't expect me to know. And so it's just let him be a guy, but it can seem like you first have to know what does it mean when a guy is healthy. Uh, you know, there's so many experts that will say, oh, you should always look in each other's eyes, and you should always be together, and you should never let go of that feeling of connection. Uh, no, men need to feel on their own. They need to feel space. They need to feel distance. You cannot be a man and be attracted to your partner unless there's a space that you have to cross to get there.
Hmm.
You know, it's distance. It's an old saying, distance makes the heart grow stronger. Particularly, it applies to men. It can apply to women. Although when I've traveled if I'm away from my wife too long, she does not feel happy with me.
Right.
But when I go away, I'm ready to come back. I miss you so much. I want to come back. See, that's the attraction increases when there is distance. And part of the practicality of that is you might call this polarity. It's not just distance, but it's when she's more feminine and I'm more masculine. It's like the positive and negative pole of a magnet. They attract each other.
Mhm.
And, you know, at 73, for example, I have great sex. I mean, it's better than it's ever been in my life, but it's not like when I was a younger man. And I like to put out this distinction because we're talking to people maybe over 50 years old.
Mhm.
Hormones change. You know, women's estrogen levels after she's gone through menopause do not go as high. When a woman's estrogen goes up, we men have a little thing in our nose, little flap that smells that, and it raises our testosterone up and creates attraction. So, you know, part of all romance, which is selecting certain times where a man does certain things that will help raise a woman's estrogen. When her
Mhm.
estrogen goes up, then he can begin to feel his love and his attraction for her more. It's hard for men to be attracted to their partners when their wife has a list of complaints why she
Yes.
loves him but can't love him because he has to change. That's
Yeah.
sort of a little loop we get in, which is, oh, I love him, but you know, only if he would do this and this, then I could really love him. Well, it's
Yeah.
like love is allowing what is. And but you can't continue to allow what is until you understand that I can still get what I need. And so
Mhm.
that whole thing is we need each other for certain things. And primarily, you know, I summarize in my book what women need on an emotional level. You know, once a woman can support herself to a great degree and has maturity, doesn't need a guy to guide her in life or anything. You know, you got your life together. That's great. Well, what do you need now? Why do you need a man in your life? And it turns out this is Maslow 100 years ago talked about the hierarchy of needs.
Right.
When your survival is taken care of, you have security. What happens? Another need emerges. And what that need is the need for emotional validation, emotional support. And
Yes.
men have no training on how to give that emotional support. And women have no training on how to get a man to give you that emotional support. The
Hmm.
thought is, well, he did it in the beginning. Why did he stop? And then we have another biological reason for that, which is in the beginning of a relationship, there's some sex involved, romantic feelings are there, and you're new and different. And when there's new and different and sex involved, there's a huge amount of dopamine that gets produced. I don't have to spend much time talking about dopamine. People know there's a excitement, it's pleasure, it's motivation, it's reward. So, when that newness of a relationship comes about, automatically you get this. It's like a drug,
Oh, yeah.
dopamine. And when dopamine goes really high, that's what drugs like cocaine will do, or ADD drugs they give the kids. It raises the dopamine. So temporarily, while that dopamine is up, it has a hormonal effect on men and women. It raises a man's testosterone very high. It
Hmm.
raises a woman's estrogen very high. And in that dynamic of more estrogen in her, more testosterone in him, that's the magnetic polarity. So there's a lot of attraction, and he just wants to get in there. He wants to get close. Those magnets want to come together. And then once they're together, then it kind of stops. He needs to pull back away, and then that attraction will increase. He pulls in again. And while he pulls away, women say, well, what am I supposed to do when he's ignoring me or he's there? Go do something that makes you happy, something else other than him. He can't be the source of everything. You're the
Right.
right. This is you've got to find your many places to find your biological happipiness. It's not all dependent on a man. I remember one time giving a talk to a bunch of I will have to say unhappy women. And it was, you can see you get a group of people who don't like men. Somehow I end up there. And I said, one of the greatest secrets is to learn how to be happy without a man. And they all went, yeah. But that is the foundation, is how to be happy. Then use a man to become happier. And literally, the happier is a hormonal experience of your estrogen levels going to a peak place.
Two things. First of all, I appreciate that so much that you said that, because so many of the women that I work with, so many of the women listening to this show say, I don't want to be bitter. I had this horrible experience in my relationship. I want to use it as a catalyst to get better. I want to be happy. I don't want to be a bitter man-hating woman for the rest of my life. I want to be better. So I really appreciate that you said that. Find places to make yourself better. Find ways to make yourself better. It's not the man's job to do it. And when you feel better, it can make the whole relationship better. So I love that you went there on that one. And then the second thing that I wanted to say is I'm sure a question that is in some of the listeners' minds is, well, if it's all about estrogen and testosterone, why can't we just go get supplements? Why can't he just get testosterone pellets and I just use more estrogen cream? Won't that solve all of our problems?
You know, um, some people tell me it has solved a lot of problems. If you get just the right balance at the right time of the month, it might help. Okay, so, but you haven't learned how to generate it yourself. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of failures when it comes to that. All right. But I won't discount it either. And I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't prescribe the right amount of testosterone, estrogen, and so forth. I was just talking to one of my friends. I'm in the whole field of holistic health. And he says, oh, I've saved so many marriages by giving men uh, uh, the testosterone injections and whatever. And they
Yeah.
get a boost of testosterone. They feel fantastic. We don't know the long-term effect of that. Okay. So, you go to your doctor, he gives you some boost, the man's going to feel really, really good. You don't know down the line what goes on in the relationship. What I know is that when a woman feels that it's her that raises a man's testosterone, her estrogen will go higher. And in the beginning, you could be fooled. He's taking something to raise his testosterone up, and you without you knowing that he's doing that, you think you're doing it. So a lot of it is imagination can have a big effect on our hormones, without a doubt. We imagine our partner doesn't love us. That's what really crashes our hormones. So interpretation and so forth. But over time, what I know to be the case is making love and sexual attraction, and it's all about energy. It's an energy of her feminine energy just awakens my masculine energy. My masculine energy increases her estrogen energy. And that's the whole point of it, is that we have that polarity. Not that it has to be all the time. When my wife's working, she's not wanting to have sex with me, and she's in a different space. But part of having romantic skills is my assisting her and finding her female side again. And
Yeah.
I never minimize any woman who wants to produce a strong masculine side. And that's what happens. There's some research showing that, when women live alone, that all of these good qualities develop in terms of creative intelligence, solving problems, motivation, goal orientation. Uh, but they don't show that her stress levels go down.
Hmm.
What we see is that what she's doing is, when she's living alone, she's becoming self-sufficient, which is a good thing. But then that then leads to being independent and being on your own. When you feel that you're on your own, your estrogen levels will go down. When you
Hmm.
feel self-sufficient, that means go out and make your life good. That's good. Women who live alone, they have time without catering to man's needs to do things for themselves. But at a certain point, once you get to that place of I'm self-sufficient, I can make myself happy. If you don't have intimacy, at least I'll say for many women, you're not going to be happy.
Right.
It's like if I've never used this example. Let's see if it comes out. It just popped in my mind. But if I'm a guy and I want to make money, I'm going to
Hmm.
make a lot of money. That's going to make me happy. I can make money on my own. I've got a job. I can do that. But at a certain point, when I made enough money, I'm empty. I'm alone. I need love. I need a woman's love. If I'm heterosexual, I need a woman's love.
Right.
And I can't live without it. And this is what happens with men is, we know many of the women who are listening, their husbands have cheated. It's something was in the marriage and the relationship where his need to feel loved wasn't there. And it's easy to go find a new person that
Hmm.
stimulates massive dopamine, which raises his testosterone because his relationship isn't raising his testosterone. And
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
and, and just a little added, and it's inevitable without this new knowledge of how to provide emotional support to women and how to motivate men and educate men how to provide that emotional support for her. Her estrogen levels are not going to go up in his presence. That's called familiarity.
Hmm.
Now, this is the simple picture of romance and relationships and sexual attraction. Newness is the big dopamine stimulator. His
Mhm.
testosterone goes up, and if she feels safe, her estrogen levels go up. Now, that newness will go away. That's called familiarity. We want that familiar. This is my wife. I'm comfortable. I don't have to impress her. She didn't have to put on makeup for me. We love each other. That's the comfort level. But what the comfort level is for a man and a woman is typically then for a man, his testosterone goes down and her estrogen levels go down because you don't have the skills to keep them up when you're living with a partner. And one of those skills is and what I'm teaching people is what those skills are without having to have a new partner. The new
Yes.
partner will stimulate the hormones, and then there's the attraction. For a man, that newness goes away, but he can go online and suddenly his testosterone will shoot up because it's new and it's different and it's a fantasy. See,
Mhm.
fantasy is a big dopamine stimulator. You don't really know that. And it's destructive to a relationship. It's very sad if men don't have education that they're losing their life force by using sex without love. When
Yeah.
you just have sex online, it feels really, really good. You get a surge of testosterone, but it crashes down again. And now it's like any drug. Cocaine makes you feel really good, then you crash down and you have to have cocaine. You have to have that new stimulation for a man to get his testosterone up. He loses his aliveness.
Yeah.
For women, there's a lot of things that stimulate estrogen, but one of the things that ironically, anything that's emotional, anytime you have emotion, love, happiness, joy, enthusiasm, that produces estrogen. Also, sadness, disappointment, frustration, anger, angst, any emotion produces estrogen. So women can go complain. You can go complain to your therapist, complain to your friends, and while you're complaining, your emotions are coming up. You will increase your estrogen, but then it will come right back down.
Yeah.
This thing about complaining is like a man doing his porn to get a surge of testosterone. The woman who's always telling stories about how bad she feels and whatever. And I'm not against women sharing. I just think that we have
Right.
to, learn how to share our pain in a way that produces estrogen from sharing negative emotion and then the positive emotion. So
Hmm.
emotion is key. If you're just sharing emotion to get attention and affection and feel like a victim, while you're doing that, your estrogen goes up and it comes right back down because you're not coming back to your authentic self. See, negative emotion is authentic self, but love, forgiveness, happiness, joy, trust, these are all parts of our authentic self. And so women are not trained, and nor men, but in how to, when you're feeling negative emotions, to move those emotions back to what it is you're really wanting, and then feel gratitude and feel happy for what you do have.
Yeah.
It, you can think about how do we find happiness in an imperfect world? How can you be happy in an imperfect relationship? There's no perfect relationship. Nobody's perfect. If you have these hopeful expectations and whatever, and one day your partner is exactly that. Another day they're having a bad day and they're not that. So how do we weather that? Well, one picture of that is, and I saw it in my own marriage. I'll tell you how I came to this realization. And all my experiences are from counseling people and not
Oh,
reading
of
books, but
course.
counseling
Yeah.
people in my own marriage. And we were doing hugs, and one day we're practicing hugs. We do 4 hugs a day, no matter what, always, and I initiate them. That's another biohack. It raises our estrogen if I pursue a hug. And it's 6 to 8 seconds is scientifically proven to raise the hormones, non-sexual hug. And
Perfect.
so I initiate it. I'm providing something for her, and she enjoys it. And over time, I learned to really enjoy it. So I miss it if I'm not giving those hugs. But I'm giving this hug one day, and she's kind of like grumpy. And I went and gave her a hug, and 8 to 10 second hug, and I just held my arms around her. Oh, let me give you a hug, honey. And I gave her a hug. And she's always open to hugs, but she said, and after the hug, this is what she told me. She said, in the beginning of the hug, I didn't want to hug you because I was frustrated because you forgot this and you forgot that. But then I took a breath and I realized I'm forgetting all the good things you do for me.
Hmm.
Feel better. Now, she told me that, and I reflected on, yeah, I was giving the hug, and you were like a stone, and you took a breath, and then you relaxed, and you were soft, and that felt really good. So she told me the internal dialogue that went on, and I really learned from that, in that when women are stressed,
Hmm.
they reflect on what's not working. Okay, so, and this is also a biological thing. If you produce stress hormones, your brain has a bias to look at what's wrong. If you're in danger, you have to go, what's the problem? What's the problem? So her brain was sort of holding on to, he didn't do this, he forgot this, forgot that. But as the hormones began to change, and they've proven to change, a non-sexual 8 second hug has been proven to raise oxytocin, to relax her body so she can then begin to think about the good things I can depend on him for, and that raises the estrogen.
Hmm.
So it was just swim. Then I started remembering all the nice things you do for me. And
And
that's how you find happiness, is you're able to acknowledge the negative and then acknowledge the positive, and it neutralizes it, as opposed to just focusing over and over on the negative. But your brain, particularly women are known for ruminating. This is very
yes,
common. Women will go over and over and over. What men do typically is they forget everything. There's research showing that
compartmentalize. Yeah.
we compartmentalize it. Go, okay, I'm just going to leave that and just watch TV or do my hobby, or I'm going to forget it. It's something hard for men to understand when there's been infidelity on his part, why she can't let it go. He doesn't have the empathy or compassion to go, hey, we just let it go. Why can't you let it go? Because he could put that, oh, some men, many men can. But there are some men who will say more on their female side, and they will grip on and they will hold on forever. I've seen that, but it's not the most common thing. And the solution for a man who's gripping on is different than a woman gripping on. The solution for a man is to strengthen his masculinity. His masculinity has just been destroyed by that. And until he finds his masculinity again, producing more male hormones, learning how to do that, uh, he's going to be stuck forever.
Hmm.
She will get stuck forever if she doesn't know how to reflect on the emotions. It has happened many, many times, going from the feelings of hurt to sad to being afraid to mistrusting to doubting. These are all emotions that come up, and you explore those emotions and you write them out, or you do therapy. But even writing is better. All
Yes.
my counseling, all my clients, I help them do this. They think I'm a miracle worker. And I say, I won't continue counseling you forever. Every week they have to send me to have me as a counselor, they have to write out this feeling letter technique, and I read it. I have to stay on top of it. I'm not here just to, fix your problems every time that
No.
need you. I'm here to teach you how to do it for yourself. Okay, so and for women, emotions, being able to talk about your emotions and feelings is an art. Learning how to go from I'm frustrated about something to what am I disappointed about? See, or I'm angry about something but I feel hurt and then I feel sad. You got to turn your hurt is feeling sad and afraid. And so what am I afraid of? And then the big one that you can get stuck in anger, sadness, and fear if you can't also get to regret. And the best thing to get to regret is how I contributed to the problem. What's my role in this? Not
Yeah.
that easy to regret I married the wrong guy. Okay.
Cop out.
Sometimes that can help. But it's to realize, oh, I realized in that situation, I was part of the problem. And I'm
Mhm.
mainly looking at women here because women do give more. They care more about relationships. They buy the relationship books. They've tried everything. And it's much easier for me to get men to feel regret because men I'm very logical with men. It's like, well, don't you see you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. You thought you were doing the right thing, but it's the
Right.
wrong thing. So men get very logical with it and they can let it go. But women have to feel the emotion and feel heard and understood. And then but the deepest one is the feeling of I'm sorry, or I feel shamed, or I feel regret, I feel guilty because well, what did I do to contribute to this problem? So that's sort of that completes the loop. And unless you can, you know, see that you're a part of the problem, it's very hard to forgive somebody else.
Yeah. What I love about this loop, as you were talking about this, stories are going through my mind. You know how you said it's you speak to things that you've experienced or that you've worked with other clients. So many of the men that I work with cheat as a way to save their own relationship, which makes no sense to the women. They're
To
like,
the woman, right?
yeah. And the men are like, no, it's this weird way of trying to make myself better so I can stay in this relationship because I do love you. And you can just see this whole cycle as you're talking about this. They're not feeling happy. They need this dopamine hit. It goes beyond just porn. It goes into an affair. They think this is making me bigger and stronger. And now I can be in this marriage. And most of the men want to stay in their marriage. Most of the women want to be wanted, but then the woman gets more and more hurt, and they just get further and further apart. And what you're talking about, which I love, is skills that will work that are not maladaptive coping behaviors. They're actual skills. A hug is a skill. Try that skill. Writing, emotions, letters, skills. These are
Skills. It takes skills to get through this stuff. Some people in other cultures that they didn't teach skills and still were learning skills. They feel that once you're hurt, you'll be hurt forever. I mean, this is just, oh, you can't love again. You can't love again. And yes, you can love again. We all are loving, but we have to rebuild, particularly for a woman and man has cheated. She has to rebuild her trust. And a big
yes.
part of it in rebuilding trust is trusting him, but it's more also about trusting yourself.
Oh
But
yeah.
I thought he would always, she's shocked because I can't even imagine him doing that if she's the type of woman who would never do that. See, a lot of women, there are women who cheat, but there's some women
Yeah.
who don't cheat, and they're the ones who hurt the most because they're in shock. How could you, how could you be turned on to somebody else? Because I'm not turned on to anybody, and I'm only turned on when you do nice things for me. And so and that's because I love you. Well, if you could be turned on by another woman, even act that out, it's shocking to me. Do I mean nothing to you? Am I not special to you? And, on another note, to help men understand, is that one of the biggest benefits of marriage or being in a committed relationship is that as a man, I get more out of that because I'm going to give her something that she can't get from anybody else except her children, but it's in a different way. She gets to feel special.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel special, when somebody does something for you, it feels so good for women because it's romantic. Okay, it's like, and and there is a hurdle for women to go over as I talk about all my biohacks to help raise her estrogen. If a man does something for a woman and she doesn't have to ask, and he just does it, oh my gosh, that just means he loves her so much.
Yeah.
That then becomes this huge hurdle. If she has to ask, then she goes, well, I had to ask. He should just do it. he should just automatically do it. And that is not reality.
Mm-hmm.
Reality and a bigger estrogen producer, once you get to realize that's just not real. Men don't wear a mask, something on their head telling them all, what do women need? What do I do so I can do it automatically? And some women say, well, he did in the beginning. And that's because in the beginning, he had this huge dopamine hit. So he was like motivated. He was horny. He was wanting to, what can I do? How am I going to do this? And then once the newness is gone, he doesn't get that free fuel. His testosterone levels aren't going to just automatically go up in your presence unless he knows how to do things for her that will raise her estrogen and that will raise his testosterone. So sometimes I don't want to do something for my wife, but in my mind, I go, let me do it right away for her. She'll be happy, feel special because I jumped on it right away, and that will raise my testosterone. See, if once, because we're all, particularly as men, as we get older, testosterone levels drop,
Right.
and they drop the most in married men. By the way, there's studies showing that at every age group, now these are, and this is good for people to know.
Yeah.
At every age group, men's testosterone levels go down 1 or 2%. Okay, this is the studied now. That's not the way it has to
Right.
be. I'm 73. My estrogen, my testosterone is, what is it? It's 50% higher. It's 50% higher than when I was a young man and it was tested. Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
it doesn't have to go down. My testosterone has not gone down. My libido is greater than ever was, particularly because I have a little bit of extra time because I got my life managed now. And I'm
Yep.
not doing 8 hours a day working with somebody else. I have more time for me and I have more time for my marriage and my relationship. So it can go up for men if you have the knowledge of the ways men lose testosterone and the women, their estrogen levels don't go higher as she gets older because there's a biological thing. When she runs out of eggs, the estrogen doesn't come from her ovaries, but it
Mhm.
can come from her adrenal gland. And it won't ever go as high. It doesn't have to go as high. It just has to go up in his presence and and have the right balance between her estrogen levels and her testosterone levels. So for the menopausal women, women beyond menopause, you'll never have, for most women, you'll never get close to the estrogen levels you had before. However, if you keep that in balance with your male side, it's you have great sex. I mean, I have women in their late 70s, at least that's as far as I know with my friends, that's my age group, who do understand the dynamics of romance and sex and so forth. And they have great sex. They have orgasms, they have sex regularly. The guys have to understand the skills for it. There's very important skills to keep a woman's estrogen up uh,
Right.
for you have to become as a man testosterone. Whenever testosterone goes high in a man, you're willing to give your life up for somebody. You're selfless completely. Okay, it's just this is our fireman down in LA right now. It's just the firemen. Everybody loves firemen. Women love firemen. I know. I learned this with my daughter when her house burned down, and a fireman, when it was burning down, he went back into the fire in order to save her computer. It was even in the newspaper. This guy became a hero because he went. It's like going back in to save the baby. My daughter was crying. Oh, my computer's in there. I'm writing a book. It's all going to be gone. and so it's like we love the heroes who are willing to put their life on the line. That's selflessness. And
Right.
uh, my wife thinks I'm just the most selfless person. And I balance. I say, look, honey, I know I'm so selfless, and I am selfless. I do for her everything I can.
Right.
I tell her I'm very
No.
selfish. I'm selfish because I know I want a happy wife and I know how to make a happy wife. I want money. I've learned how to make money. I want to help the world and teach, write books. I've learned how to do that. I have a wife. What do I want there? I don't want money.
Yes.
I want a happy wife and I want to have lasting great sex. It's a very important thing for longevity and health for men. Not that every man has to have that and some people can't, but to me, that's what I want. I can produce it. I know how to do it. I can keep her estrogen levels higher. And
Mhm.
I know the secrets for doing it. And those same secrets, the behaviors in me that can raise her estrogen are the behaviors that keep my testosterone high.
Yeah. And it's empowering. What you're saying is empowering. It's not just you're lucky if you get a good relationship or you're lucky if you get a good partner. You get to pick what you want and you get to learn the skills to create what you want. And I think that's really empowering. And I love that. Now, we've talked about some of the skills. You're also big on the nutritional aspect of things. Say more about how that plays into this.
Well, one of the if you want excitement in your marriage, okay, one of the biggest dopamine and testosterone, and for women, estrogen stimulators is if you think this is in the category where you think you're overweight. If you
Yeah.
think you're overweight and you lose weight, you have so much energy, you have so much attraction. Like right now, I'm in the cycle where I've set my goals for the year. I'm going to write 10 books. Now, I won't write 10 books, but that's my goal. I want to write 10 books. It's like shoot for the stars. I'm going to get the moon. But my excitement becomes because after the winter, during the winter, there's parties and it's cold outside. Your body wants to eat more food. I gain about an extra 10 pounds, always every year. And then once we're in the new year, I said, I'm going to lose those 10 pounds. So as soon as I knocked off, like in the first week, 5 pounds, you just feel like you feel in control of the thing that most people feel out of control with. Okay, when it comes to our bodies, when it comes to our size of our bodies, if we're overweight, we feel powerless. Every time we look in the mirror, we feel powerless to get rid of that. And I'm a big proponent of, particularly in the beginning of the year, to detox. There's different programs for that. I have programs I recommend to people, and it's learning how to lose weight by getting extra fat off your body and building muscle mass without having to go to the gym. So the most important thing for energy and excitement is that you're not losing muscle mass. A lot of people just fast or they stop eating and the metabolism slows down, their energy slows down. But there's ways to amplify the proteins and then take for 5 days, high protein. And then for 2 days, almost like a complete fast for 2 days with, the ideal is to put some good herbs in your body during that time. And then you come back to 5 days of amping up your protein and then 2 days of uh, pretty much like bone soup, for example. You're still
Yeah.
getting more protein in your body, but it's liquid. It's not that much. You don't want to go completely lowering your metabolism. All these people that, just give up eating and starve themselves, they're just lowering their metabolism. So it has to be a bit of a balance. If you're going to go without protein for a few days, lowering your calories, then you need to amp up huge amount of protein during 5 days. So I teach people how to do that. That's another program. We have coaching for that. It's not something you can do on your own,
Right.
unless you have no problem. But a lot of people just I don't have the willpower to do it. So you have to see pictures of people who do it. You have to like this is how you do it. These are the support products that you can do. So if people are interested in that, just let people know that we have a program. If you go to marsvenus.com and you go down at the bottom of the page and you say contact us, then a little thing comes up and says, would you like coaching on that? And you put your phone number or your email, and we'll provide the coaching for free
Mhm.
because we sell the products. So we sell the products, and so the person makes money, whatever. So there's that program. I don't even have that on my website because it's such a delicate issue to
Mhm.
say lose weight for your relationships. Okay, you asked me the question. You know what?
Yes.
Ask me the question. I'll give you my honest answer. But there's places where one of the women I counseled once, she felt she was 20 pounds overweight, and this guy wouldn't make a commitment. And I said, look, do this program, and 1 month you can lose 20 pounds, or maybe 2 months for some people, and just see what happens. And she felt so excited. She felt so good about herself. She felt so worthy of love. Her estrogen levels shot up. It's more about her feeling good about her body that turns men
Yes.
on. It's
Yes.
women don't understand is how you're feeling that turns men on. If you feel that, wow, I am beautiful, I deserve to be loved, that turns men on.
Mhm.
And on the other side of that, never point out to men, look, I've got these wrinkles. Do you see them? I've got
Right.
this cellulite. Do you see it? Men, when they're turned on, they don't see so much. And when they're turned on, they can't see flaw. When that man is turned on, his heart is opening. It's completely unconditional. He loves your body. He loves you. That's the most amazing thing about love. Because sometimes, I'll just give one example. And these are
Yeah.
good examples for women to hear from a man. I was watching a movie. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a husband, you find out in the book, into the show, he was depressed because his child had committed suicide. Okay. So he's like really, really depressed. And, they were doing some tough love. They got advice to do tough love, and the kid killed himself. So anyway, it's such a big story. I want to keep it short. But she was trying to figure out ways to get out of his depression. And she's middle-aged, even older than middle-aged woman. She doesn't look that sexy. We have this image of sexy women, okay? She was the last thing about sexy, but a nice woman. And I know, like, I don't think about sex with everybody. So I was like, she's very nice. But then when she put on this sort of outfit to have sex with him and try to have sex with this depressed man, my reaction is, please don't. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. No, don't do that. Okay. Now, by the end of the show, for a variety of reasons, he was able to connect with this pain of losing his child. He was taking this acting course, Romeo and Juliet, and how his child, the parent, I've lost my child. He
Right.
committed suicide. So he was able to act out those feelings, and he came alive, and his wife's in the audience, and he's crying. She never seen him cry, and she's crying. And then afterwards they make love. And I'm like, yeah, do it. It's the feeling. You have to have the
Yes.
feeling. And if the feeling isn't there, making love is sort of this sex is this very low kind of disgusting thing. And again, now let's apply this to marriage. If a guy is always wanting sex and his wife's not in the mood, he looks disgusting to her. It's like ick, 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 or she can beat herself up. It's not women only can only appreciate sexuality, a man's sexuality, a man's desire, a man's erection, if her estrogen is high enough. If her
Mhm.
estrogen is down, she has no sexual desire. And
Right.
so part of what goes on in marriage is, I could say to my wife, do you want to have sex? And, she's very honest with me. She says, no, I'm not in the mood. I can feel rejected by that. I'm in the mood. You're not in the mood. It's like, what's going on? Well, now I know she's not in the mood means her estrogen isn't high enough. You see, biologically, a woman's estrogen level has to get to a certain level to where then her testosterone levels will rise in response to that, and she will desire sex. So I
Mhm.
want it. I want to be penetrated. I want it as much as you want to penetrate me can only occur in a woman's body when her estrogen levels goes to such a high level. Now, biologically, there's a natural rhythm for that in the animal kingdom and human kingdom. Naturally, before ovulation, a woman's estrogen levels will hit a peak level. And when that happens, 3 days, 4 days before ovulation, luteinizing hormone gets produced and it causes her body to make testosterone. And when she then makes testosterone, then she can say, I want sex. I want to be penetrated. So that has to be a hormone to stimulate that inside of her. And so what I know is my wife says, she's not really in the mood. Sometimes say, okay, we don't have to have sex. Let's just lie in bed and cuddle. Let me hold you in my arms and tell you how much I love you. And then she will start to respond sexually and they will make love, not every time, but
Right.
the cuddling is very important as a pattern interrupt. Is what happens is women are like all the time on their male side, solving problems, fixing things, feeling we have to do more here, we don't have enough there. It's kind of like their CEO of the house, their CEO of the business, whatever it is. How to get back to her female hormones, to the estrogen level. The first thing she needs is oxytocin, which is physical touch. So
Mhm.
that's cuddling. So, well, let's just hang out in bed and just cuddle. I love you. And then you do a little cuddling, you do a little connecting in that way. And what I do is I don't get sexual at all. I contain any sexual part of me. I just say, don't go there, John. Don't go there. Men can do that. Just don't go
Mhm.
there. Even though I might want to have sex, I just don't go there because that's me wanting sex when she doesn't want sex. It's kind of disgusting. It's the same thing as I have to throw this in here. One of the terrible things that goes on in marriages today because of modern psychology is women are always asking men what they feel. And they're asking men to express feeling. And then he starts talking about his day. And then he starts complaining about his day. And now his estrogen's going up. And after a while, in the beginning, she's excited. I know what's going on inside. I know it's not me he's upset about. But then it's like, oh my God, I've created a monster. He's always complaining about work. He's down. He feels bad. He talks about it. It's such a turnoff to women when men go off to their female side. And to a
Mhm.
certain extent, when a man is horny, his testosterone is up, but he also is on his female side. You see, to have an erection for a man, he requires a surge of estrogen. That's why women connecting with a woman will raise his estrogen. Also, too much distance or the right amount of distance will give his testosterone up, but then he wants to get closer as his estrogen level goes up. And
Right.
if he's wanting sex and she is so far away from it, it's like, ugh, why would you even think about sex right now? I can't even go there. Well, I don't take any of that personally, nor do I uh, set her up to feel that way, because women need more estrogen before the idea of a naked man's erection looks good. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like, almost any woman wants to get naked. That looks good. Okay. If he's
Right.
on, that looks good. But a naked man with an erection does not look good unless you're in bed and you're feeling love and your hormones are going higher, then you're so happy to have that nice erection inside of you. It feels really, really good. But you have to have the build up for it. There's a time and a place. And the time and a place and the person. Big part of sex is a man needs to understand women need validation that they are loved, that they are special, that they are important. And he just doesn't have that same need. All he needs is if she's happy, he feels validated. But women need words and actions to validate that she's special.
Hmm.
And so I have biohacks for that and how to a woman to go, how do you get your guy to do this?
Yeah.
And, uh, and before I say how to get him to do this, looking at the clock, how many things I can say, I want to mention that there's this book called Beyond, it's back behind me. That's there called Beyond Mars and Venus with the blue stripe. Beyond Mars and Venus is filled with these ideas about hormones and how a man can do this, what she can do for him. One is a simple thing, and we're dealing with women who've been hurt through,
Yes.
but they want to make it work. Okay, how do you make
Yes.
it work? Okay, the way you make it work, there's a tendency that sabotage is to keep going over telling him how much he hurt you. Okay, it
Right.
doesn't serve
That
you
doesn't
or
work.
him to keep going on. He can't hear that. But what you have to do is to realize that there's a place where you have to hurt is you don't see me, therefore I can't trust you. If you don't see me and respect me, I can't trust you. So you need many, many experiences of him seeing you and being there for you. Uh, which softens all the hormone, heals that hurt. So it means he has to provide a unique kind of support, which he can provide if you ask and you teach. That's one. But
Hmm.
he will, if you keep going over, you hurt me, therefore I can't open up to you. He can't do those things. Okay. He's always feeling rejected. It's guilt,
Yeah.
shame, rejection. He's going to go down. So yes, you do some talking in the beginning, yes, about what you feel and so forth. And then you talk to your therapist about it, you talk to your coach about it. If you feel you need to talk that story over and over, you do it through writing. But once
Hmm.
again, you don't just stay in the pain. If you feel hurt, you need to feel anger. You need to feel sadness of the loss. You need to feel afraid of trusting again. And you need to feel, as I mentioned, I'm so sorry that I didn't see it. I didn't do it. I didn't know. And I did this. I'm a part of the problem too.
Right.
Then that's the 4 levels of healing. Then you get in touch always after that with what is it I want? So I want to be close to you. I want to love you. I want the outcome to be there. I've helped some women with this, just getting those feelings out. And now what is it what you're wanting? I want to be close again. I want our marriage to work again. And you can fully feel it because you're feeling your negative emotions. While you do that, when you're expressing them either on paper or to a therapist, your estrogen is going higher. Then
Hmm.
you feel when your estrogen goes high, then you can feel, we could call esoterically, your soul's desire, what you really want. When you're mad, I want you out of my life.
Yes. And then more regret.
And then more regret. Exactly. So when your estrogen goes up through expressing the negative emotion, then ask what you're wanting. And what you're wanting comes from the soul. And it's more what I want is to make up, to forgive, to let go. That's my goal. I want to feel that way. I want to make love with you again. How would that look? So
Yep.
that's what I have women start talking about. What is it really wanting? And how would it look? And how would it feel? Just to bring those feelings back again and then look at what you're grateful for. Always what you want and then what you're grateful for. I was
Yes.
Oprah's coach for 6 years, and her big thing was always, feeling grateful, feeling grateful. You have to feel grateful. It's a big estrogen stimulator. Because what are you basically saying when you're feeling grateful is you're looking at what do I have? The support I have, the support I have. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Because the biggest estrogen stimulators, triggers, is when you feel I depend on something and I can get it. I can depend on
Yes.
something and I can get it. And so to
Yes.
open your heart with your husband again is basically lots of exercises to keep raising your estrogen, coming back to what you want, and then recognizing, all right, I didn't know what to do correctly. You didn't know what to do correctly. You did what a lot of people do, and they don't know better. And you kind
Yes.
of really beautifully said in the beginning, which is there's something that happens in a man, which is pretty weird from a woman's point of view. But if you're with a woman, a new and different woman that you don't really love, uh, but the newness stimulates your testosterone. And when your testosterone goes up really high, then you can feel your love. You don't really love her, but you actually can feel love. So I just want women don't understand that men are handicapped in our ability to feel love without a woman, without sex. It sounds so superficial, but if you think about it, a man's sexuality is the one part of his body that he cannot control. He's most sensitive there. And if you look at actually the science of a man's erection, is that his testosterone has to go up, which always will happen with a new and different woman. Testosterone goes up, and then he needs to connect with a female and his estrogen goes up through her happiness to interact with him in some way. So he could be paying the woman even. She's grateful for that. Or it's another woman out there looking for a man. So she's in her fantasy of estrogen going up. So suddenly he gets to be in the situation where I'm testosterone's up, my estrogen goes up in her presence. And now he feels it. He feels just what he felt before. His heart opens and he's not in love with her. It's very important for women to understand. He's in love. He's just feeling love. It's kind of like when I eat ice cream, it bumps my dopamine, and I love ice cream. But do I
Yes.
want a relationship with ice cream? Nothing. But
Yeah.
it's something that's making me feel grateful and appreciative, and I haven't felt that. It's life force energy, and we go to women for that. And if a woman's estrogen levels aren't high enough, we can't get it. And it's not all her fault. It's like we need to, as men, do things to help keep her estrogen up. And she needs to also know how to communicate in a way that gets him to do the things that she needs for estrogen to go up.
Yes.
So that's the big picture. But now, well, what do I do with that? Why I feel comfortable knowing I have books to recommend to do that. But I want to cover a few hacks if that sounds like a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's exactly what I wanted to go because the understanding is one thing, but having that knowledge, having those biohacking abilities to know it's not personal, but what I can do is. So
Yeah,
please
it's
share
so
about that.
great. So I gave one about losing weight if you're overweight. I have another one at my website, which is it's a pure biohacking. It's a supplement. I used to have a health food store. I got rid of all of that. Just one supplement at the top of the page, and it just says for men or for women. It helps to balance the hormones. It helps to keep the highs from going too high and the lows to go too low. And you can press the button, and it will take you to many pages describing every ingredient that's in it, why it helps to bring back balance in the relationship. But it only helps if you're doing the biohacks behaviorally. Okay. It's not
Yes.
a drug. It doesn't do anything, but it supports the changes that occur when you do the things I'm recommending. So the first one is you explain to a man 4 hugs a day. Okay.
I
That means
love
he,
that.
he initiates the hugs 6 to 8 seconds. And in one of those hugs, you do another exercise. And if she doesn't do it, she has to do it. But if she does it, he can say, let's do the reassurance exercise if you've gone for a few days without it. The reassurance exercise is where she says this to her husband, the man who loves her. She says, do you like me? He says, yes.
Hmm.
She says, do you love me? He says, yes. She says, how much do you love me? He says, with all my heart. She says, do you think I'm beautiful? He says, yes, you are so beautiful. Are you happy to be married to me? I am so happy to be married to you. Will
Oh,
you always love me? I will always love you. Do you regret being with me? No, I don't regret being with you. Now, when I do this exercise, I want women to all know, do you regret it? Little voice comes up and go, well, it would be better if you'd done this or this. And then it's immediately released. Okay.
huh.
Because I said, yes, I say, I do not regret anything. You're my one. The brain, the mind gets really busy with complaints and criticism. You stick to the script, something happens amazing inside. Because, when she says, do you love me? He says, yes. Her brain's going to go to, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do this? You want to get out of the brain just into the feeling. So if I'm just, without doing this exercise, my wife could say to me, do you love me? I take it as a complaint. What do you mean, do I love you? Okay.
Right.
And so you set it up as an exercise to help stimulate hormones. Now, why are these hormones so important? Well, every couple knows that if you go back to the beginning, there was a lot more attraction and passion and newness and all that. So,
Mm.
what are you feeling as a woman at that time? You're feeling, does he like me? Does he love me? How much does he love me? Does he
Uh-huh.
think I'm beautiful? Does he want to be with me? Am I number one for him? Is he committed to me? That's all this. This is the biggest estrogen stimulators to feel those things. And you just have to have the courage and the understanding in the relationship that he's going to follow the script, you're going to follow the script, and see what happens.
I
And
love that.
you practice it every day or every other day. Usually it's the women who don't want to do it because it makes them feel their love. It forces her to feel love by saying those things because it awakens his heart. But in the beginning of the exercise, he doesn't feel anything. So
Mm,
if you just said to me, "Do you love your wife?" Of course I love my wife, but am I
right.
feeling it like I just adore her and want to merge with her and be with her? No, the words, the languaging of her being that vulnerable brings out the fireman in him. She needs his because boy, when she says, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" You think I'm going to say, "Well, you should go to the gym more. Maybe you've lost some weight." I think, most men have enough knowledge not to say that. So it puts him in the lane of realizing this is a tender being over here. She depends on me for reassurance. And
Yeah.
I had no concept of that. And a man doesn't even have to have the concept of, you just do the experience. And already her
Right.
vulnerability, its energy from her is going to pull energy into him, where it would just be cruel if he was to make fun of it or whatever. So that's a powerful tool that's not in any of my books. So I wanted to make sure I got that one in as a biohack.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're having an argument and I get charged. Well, first of all, the number one thing to create a healthy relationship, and we will all make mistakes until you learn it. I've learned it. I got it down. I never talk if there's any negative emotion inside of me.
Hmm.
If I'm angry, I do not talk, and I have many choices to do. I can say, "Help me understand that better." I don't talk about what I'm feeling. I can
Right. Right.
understand that better. I can say, "Tell me more. What else?" I stay out of this concept that men are now being taught that you should always express your feelings. She talks for 10 minutes and, well, I should get my 10 minutes. No, don't take it. Just
Right.
if she's upset and do you feel better now? Do you feel heard? And she says, yes. Then you give her a hug and you walk away and you go, I feel better because I didn't get in an argument with her. And
Yes.
see, what men don't know is anger is not masculinity. Okay. Whenever you have any emotion, you're on your female side. And if you have a negative emotion, it's a biological symptom of estrogen being too high and testosterone being too low. So
Interesting.
see, nobody knows that, okay? But even common sense, besides biology, is when a man loses confidence, what is the most masculine thing? I'm a can-do guy. I got the solution, right? I'm cool, calm, and collected. That's power. I am a powerful person. You can't shake me.
Right.
Now, so here I'm in my power position. I'm cool, calm, and collected. Now, suddenly, whatever I'm saying doesn't seem to be making it work. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel she's liking me. So now my testosterone is going down. My confidence, I'm losing confidence. And now I'm feeling like, what? You don't appreciate me? Now I'm feeling hurt. I'm on my female side. I'm on an emotional side. Okay. And so if she's angry, I'll get angry back. If she's angry, I have a right to be angry. No, it's stupidity. All this, no, men don't get training. Historically, one of the biggest themes of being a man is that men don't cry and they don't get angry. Now, certainly at movies, I cry. I feel crying compassion. I will always feel those feelings, but I don't. I watched a 7-part movie and people were dying all the time,
Right.
crying a lot. Death. The Chinese have a saying that a man should never cry unless his heart is broken. Life and death, big things happen. We're designed to go way over to our female side because we feel powerless. When you're powerless, your testosterone goes down, your estrogen goes up. Yes, crying, being upset, but never, get angry. Anger is such a shutdown to women. A
Yeah.
woman's estrogen cannot go up, and it takes time to recover it. Okay, I just have to experience many, many times of this man not being angry, somebody I can trust again. And any so much of the time when people don't have these skills, women are now walking on eggshells. I can't say this. I can't say this. I can't say this. And
Yes.
yeah, there are things you can't say to a man without a doubt, but it shouldn't be all over the place. It should be a simple wisdom is if there's something I can't say to my partner, I can say to my friends, I can say to my therapist, I can process that and come back to what I want and feel forgiveness and gratitude and appreciation. That's a power women need to find within themselves without this place where women are stuck without this knowledge of I want more, I need more in my relationship. And I can't get more unless my partner changes. They've got to change.
Right.
So the primitive part of our brain uses negative emotions and complaining in order to create change. Well, what if you didn't complain? What if you just let him be a man? Just let him be them. Don't try to change him in any way. Well, if you did that, in your mind will go, well, if I did that, I'll never get what I want. I want someone to take me on dates, be affectionate, listen to my feelings, be kind and considerate, raise my estrogen, do these biohacks. Well, if I just let him be himself, how's he ever going to do that? He needs to learn. So complaining does not teach. Punishing does not teach. Shaming does not teach. Although primitive brain, that's how it works.
Right.
So advanced brain, if you want emotional support, you have to give emotional support. So how do you give a man the support he needs to give you what you need? Just as I have to know how to give my wife the support she needs to get the support I need. So the thing here, this is a mind wrap for women. The way you give him what he needs is stop giving him anything other than opportunities to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You give him opportunities. And the only way you give him opportunities is to let him know what would be important to you. Ask for help. Ask for help. Ask for help. ASK. If you don't ASK, you don't GET. You don't get. And you have to ask at the right time. It's an art. Okay. And for how much? If you ask for too much, you get too much annoyance. You want to learn how to ask for the right amount that he could do without resenting. Okay. It's just, now that's hard because you don't know how far a man can go. There's a whole knowledge of how to interpret his willingness. If I'm if I'm on a deadline and my wife says, would you go buy some milk? We need milk for dinner. I'm going to be annoyed and irritated. That's because I'm hyper focused, annoyed and all it takes is one time. And she goes, oh, I can't ask him. I can't
Never
ask
done it again. Yeah.
him. So the way you would do it, if you really need the milk for dinner or something for that, he's busy working on something. It depends on how extreme and important that thing is. But let's just say I'm just doing my emails and my wife wants me to go to the store and buy something. I'll bring up one story in my books. Cauliflower. She comes to me while I'm doing my emails. I'm focused. And she says, John, would you go to Whole Foods and pick up a cauliflower? And I'm like, you wanted me to interrupt my work here? I get you a cauliflower, just so I have a sudden reaction. There's a resistance. And most women go, oh my God, I should never going to do that again. But she understands that. I call that the grumbles. When you make a request of a man, a little request, okay,
Right.
you're going to get grumbles. Now, grumbles is if you make a request of a woman, she'll usually say, yes, do it. And if she grumbles, it means she's going to remember that forever and resent you for asking for too much. But for a man, we're different animals, okay? We want to please you more than you want to please us, okay? It's just, this is the bottom line for men. My wife is happy, I'm happy. For a woman, my husband's happy, but I'm ignored, I'm not happy, okay? So we're real different here. So when a man grumbles, think of my dog growling, but her tail is wagging.
Yep.
That's what a man is when he grumbles. If it's a little request, so you're basically saying, would you go and pick up some cauliflower for dinner? I go, cauliflower for dinner? Why? And she says, well, we have the Browns coming over and I want to make my cauliflower soup. You love that. Yeah, I love that. But we don't have a cauliflower. Make something else. We've got that canned mushroom soup just give that for them. She listens. The key to this is don't resist it. She goes, yeah, I could use the mushroom soup. It would just be so nice if you got the cauliflower and I can make my cauliflower soup. I've got everything for that. And I go, really? Do we have to do that? I mean, they don't know that you've got this great soup. I'm fine with it. We can have it tomorrow. I'll get it tomorrow. So a man's going to do anything to get out of doing this little thing when I'm doing something more important, so to speak.
Right.
She just listened again, and it's usually about 3 times, then you give it up. But she just goes, it would just be so nice. And I got everything ready. I just forgot a little humility. I forgot to pick up the cauliflower. It would
Yep.
be so nice. And so there's a moment of silence. And then I'm going to grumble until now I've learned to get beyond grumbles. But a regular guy is going to go, okay, I'll go. That's what he's going to do. Okay, I'll do it. Then she'll often say, okay, then don't do it. But she doesn't know he's already decided to go. Okay, let him go. Because what you don't know about men is solving problems raises their testosterone and all stress goes away. All this little stuff that women get into, remembering this and ruminating about it. Men don't have that. It's just,
Right.
I'm grumbling. When I grumble, so unconsciously I grumble. It's what I'm doing. Most men are basically saying, this better be worth it. Okay, this
Right.
better be worth. That's really what he's grumbling about. I don't need to grumble anymore because I know it's worth it. I know little things make a big difference for women. So do a little thing and she'll feel so much more love for me. So I still remember the experience. This is kinesthetic experience. So I okay, okay, I'll go. Now I'm driving to the store to get the cauliflower. It's only a few minutes. It's not a big deal.
Not a big
But
deal.
as I'm driving my car, one of the best testosterone producers for men is driving your car, having a goal, solving a problem. So I might even be grumbling part of the way, but then the grumbles start going away. And then I get to the grocery store, I open the door, and already I'm feeling like, yeah, I'm doing the
I did.
job. I'm doing the job. And
Yeah.
I remember going, I don't know where the cauliflowers are. I asked a woman, I said, do you know where the cauliflower is? Oh, it's over there. Yeah, I'm getting, my wife's making cauliflower soup. Immediately she goes into, oh my God, you're helping your wife make the soup. I mean, women will have this reaction. At least they used to. I don't know if today they're so on their male side, but back then, oh my God. And then I got to the counter. And this is really true because everybody knows me in my little town where I live and John Gray
Yeah.
and all that. The lady was behind the counter and I had the cauliflower, put it down, and she looks at me and she says, is this for Bonnie? I said, yeah, she
Oh,
wants cauliflower too. She started crying. You were such a good husband. And I'm rejoicing. Yep, I'm the great guy. It's so easy to
that's
make my
me.
wife happy. I drive home. I bring the cauliflower. She's happy. Oh, the cauliflower's here. Even my little daughter, Lauren, yay, the cauliflower's here. The Browns come over for dinner and they're having cauliflower soup. And the Brown, basically, he says, this soup is so good. And Bonnie says, yeah, John was working. He got up for you guys, for me, and went and bought that cauliflower. So she even added more to it. You see, she
Yeah.
gave credit for this wonderful meal. And of course, she put it all together. She did the whole thing. But she goes, what wisdom of a woman is get a man to do something and give him credit. And now he's going to want to do more for you.
Yeah. And I love how you just framed it. It's training. It's
It's
just
training. It's
training. What,
training.
yeah, what we want, what we need. And then you nailed it too earlier when you're like, it's for me. I do this training to make me happy. The other person does the training to make them happy. So truly it's a win-win. It's not manipulative. It's
No,
not
it's not. This is what relationships based on. Man helps woman. Woman needs help, makes baby. Woman in response gives love. That's what I need.
right.
It's so profound, the simplicity. We have to find our way there. It's challenging with relation. It's complex, but it gets simpler when we understand that we are different. So another one is the five fingers. Okay. Now we don't do five fingers now because we already developed the channel for this. But it's the beginning of it is for a couple and just is every day at some point in her day when he's there, she
Yeah.
raises five fingers, which means she's about to make a request for him to do something that is within the realm of 5 minutes. And he has completed it. All he needs is five. Any man can stop anything if it's just 5 minutes. I'll do whatever you need. If it's a once a day and it's 5 minutes and you ask for it, then she can ask for that thing, knowing there's going to be no grumble, but the opposite of a grumble right away. Happy to do it. Get up off the couch. Get to this. And that's good for me too. But see, most men don't get up off the couch. There's a big fire. But here, I know 5 minutes. I'm going to get the same amount of points in her happiness and her estrogen
Yes.
if I made $100, $5,000 or something. It's the little things that make women happy. That's what we have to understand. The basics of that is estrogen goes up. I can give her 50 roses, estrogen goes up. I give her one rose, estrogen goes up the same amount. Okay, it's emotional support, not the physical support. It's the emotional. So she asked me. She says, John, would you get me a glass of warm water? This is what she does at least 3 times a week. She gets into bed. I'm already in bed. And as she's getting into bed, she goes, oh, would you give me a glass of warm water? I know this is my 5 minute window. We haven't done it. I get out of bed. Who wants to get out of bed once you're in bed? But I happily do it because I know this is going to raise her estrogen. This is what she needs. It's like reassuring that she's number one. It's not all the time. Men do not want women telling them what to do all the time, nor do women want to be telling men what to do all the time.
No.
We're talking about a short thing. It's a 5 minute window where she feels like this guy is always ready to be there for me. That's a whole essence. I can depend on him. It's a feeling I can depend. She'll be, while watching TV, she'll just say, oh, would you clean up the kitchen? As much as I can do in 5 minutes, I will do. And I'm pretty fast at it. But if I can't, I'll finish in 5 minutes and she'll be happy. It's good enough. It's great. Would you make me an orange juice? Oh, I get to cut orange. I put it in the machine. I do it all. It's all 5 minute thing and delivered to. This feels so good. It's providing for a woman, particularly something she could do for herself, is really big estrogen stimulator. I'm going to do something for you that you don't have to do for yourself, and
Mhm.
I'll do for you. Now, what that is, it takes away this pattern in women of feeling I think I'm overtime. Am I overtime?
We are overtime.
Okay, we went way overtime with the thing. But anyway, I have a client that's waiting for me right now, so I
I was
probably
like,
should.
holy cow. But that was so good. And I love your point, doing something that you can do for yourself. That's extra special.
That's extra special. I got this idea with opening the car door thing. Every woman can open the car door. My
Oh,
wife said to me, John, I can open the car door. And I came up with the phrase, I mean, it just came out of me. Honey, you do so much for me and everybody. Let me do everything for you tonight. Do you see how romantic that is? The estrogen gets stimulated. It's doing little things. And for women, they when they're on their male side too much, it's like a snowball that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If I have to, I have to, I have to. And just that, we're called a pattern interrupt, allows the snowball to stop. And the momentum is gone. And she's able to start coming back to the other part of her. And
yeah.
this is what happens. And this is, I love the work that you're doing, helping men and women understand that we're all flawed. We make mistakes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that we want to find forgiveness to open our hearts again. We want to let go of the past. But the way we let go of the past is to start filling in the holes in the present. And these are the
Yeah.
ways we can just build up the hormone as long as we have the intention that we want to find forgiveness and create the relationship. So that was a relationship that wasn't working for him, wasn't working for her. Now let's create something of what we both want.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful tools, wonderful perspective, wonderful skills. I'm definitely putting the link to your website in the show notes, all the books. I absolutely recommend them. Thank you for being here. Listeners, reach out, get his book, share them with your partner, have a conversation. And as usual, always remember to flaunt exactly who you are, because who you are is always more than enough. Thank you so much. Get to your next client, and I will share the links when we are done.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.